Hello, JMU Nation. I'm Dave Thomas, the radio voice for JMU football and men's basketball, and we're spending some time talking to another Duke in the pros at the NFL level. This is a different story this week. I want to welcome in Blaine Stewart, former JMU football player, now on the coaching staff with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Blaine, first of all, it's great to see you. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me. Glad to be here.
I hope things are going well through the pandemic, and that really leads to the first question. You know, you get into the season, you go a few weeks, and then you're supposed to play Tennessee, and man, the wheels didn't start wobbling on the bus. They came off the bus. Walk us through, if you will, the last week, what it's been like for the coaching staff there and the players to, are we going to play? Are we not going to play? Now we're having to move our bye week. Everything that's gone on with you guys. Talk about that, if you will.
Well, Coach Tomlin's heart from day one, talking about just being light on our feet this entire year, because obviously there's been a lot of changes logistically and just from the league office and things like that. So, we were ready to play and going about our daily week. And then early in the week, we heard some murmuring that there would be some positive cases coming out of Nashville. And, we just tried to handle what we could handle and control, day by day our preparation. And there was talks of no game and then back to we were going to play. And then by the end of the week when they finally canceled it, we had already practiced 2 times and then put a whole game plan together. And then they kind of pulled the plug late in the week, and we went about one final practice before the bye weekend, if you will. And then now we're just on to Philadelphia. So it just started at the top, just being light on our feet and trying to control what's in front of us, because there's so much that can change week to week during these unusual times.
Will you be able to keep most of what you've done already and kind of put it aside in a folder and then pull it back out when this game rolls around? Or will it have to be completely different because things will have changed and transpired by the time you actually face the Titans?
I think we'll be able to put most of it to the side. They'll change a little bit week to week, but just in terms of their kind of base defense and structure and personnel, things like that, we can put that to the side. But we'll have a couple more games to add to the breakdown and study. So just take it a week at a time. But, yeah, that'll be on pause till a couple weeks when we get to play them at the end of October.
How different has COVID caused what you do? Obviously you've got to be screened. You've got to take temperatures. You've got to take tests just like players and so forth do. How different has that been for you to fit into your daily routine now?
It's not too bad. One thing we're doing, we're attending some team meetings via Zoom as coaches, so to kind of limit the number in the team room and social distance and things of that nature. But in terms of day-to-day operation, now that we're back at the Southside facility after camp, not a whole lot's changed for me, but just trying to be a good follower and an example of social distancing and wearing our mask when in common areas and things like that. But not a whole lot's changed operationally, personally.
Now, this is probably a fun week because it's the battle for Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Philly coming to town this weekend. What's this week like around town? I know there's, fans probably not going to be in the stands or to be limited at least. But as far as the environment around Pittsburgh and around this team and the Steeler Nation, when you're playing the Eagles, tell us about that experience.
Definitely a lot of pride. Philly's 5 hours away, so I don't venture over there too often. But there's definitely a lot of pride just in terms of bragging rights for the state. And with them being in the NFC, we don't play them quite often. So this will be the first time I've played them in 3 years. And, it's just going to be a good opportunity for fans watching and the opportunity for bragging rights for them. So, just excited about it. And they're a tough opponent. So we're just trying to get ready for them.
Are you seeing a lot around town, especially this week, like, from fandom and signs or anything, especially now that fans really can't interact and be involved with the team and the game like they normally are?
Honestly, I'm not getting around town too much. I see a lot on social media and things of that nature, but in terms of around town, I can't lie. I haven't done a whole lot outside of the building, but I know for sure they're missing being at Heinz Field and we're missing having them. So the presence has been felt on social media and things of that nature, but we're ready for whenever some fans can come back in the stadium. We look forward to it.
I know when you were at JMU, we talked about your pedigree a lot. And for those who don't know, your dad obviously coached at West Virginia. Has football always been the sport for you? Has that always been kind of the thing you knew you were going to end up around?
Around, yes. My first love growing up was actually baseball. And then by the time I got to middle school, it kind of transitioned to primarily football. I tried to play them all growing up. But, just being around it, really inspired me to want to jump into this career all the way in. Really thankful for the opportunities I had as a child, whether it be attending practice or being in the locker room after big wins and bowl trips and things of that nature. So it's always been a part of kind of who I am and what I've been around. But, it's just it opened a door to me that I'm excited to kind of do for myself and see where it takes me.
Is there one essential story you sort of go back to being around that environment, maybe in the locker room after a big win, or is there one story that you can share?
There's so many, but the biggest thing I always remember is just kind of the personal interaction with the players. I was really fortunate to spend a lot of time in the building, and I appreciate my dad and Coach Rodriguez when he was the head coach for that, like going to practice and stuff. But the thing I just remember is just even though I was 8, 9, 10, whatever it was, just trying to pretend I was one of the guys, whether it be hanging out with guys like Pat White and Steve Slayton, and kind of growing relationships to this day with guys like Pat McAfee. Just kind of growing up as an only child, I didn't feel like an only child, and spending quality time with those guys really inspired me and kind of were the model for what I wanted to be growing up. And spending those intimate moments was definitely a blessing that I do not take for granted.
When did you know that you wanted to get into coaching? When did you see the light was on, the door was open, and all you had to do was walk through it?
That's a good question. By the end of my high school career, I would say, when I was young, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I was trying to play every sport I could, and then just kind of see where it took me. But when I went to college after my last couple of years in high school, I knew I was going to do whatever I could to set myself up for that opportunity. And then when I got done playing, it was there. So it was one of those things that I figured would be there in the back of my mind, but I jumped all in when I basically got to college after high school.
Tell us how you found your way from West Virginia to Harrisonburg and to JMU.
I wanted to play football at the highest level I could. I had a good deal of preferred walk-on interest from some schools, some Division I schools nearby, whether it be MAC schools or a few smaller ACC schools, but those were all preferred walk-on. So, I got a plan together with my dad at the time and my high school coach, and just kind of things that would be realistic for me and somewhere where I could go be a part of a really winning program and good tradition. And I went to a bunch of camps my senior year. So I went to probably 10 camps the summer going into my senior year, and JMU was one of them, and was opportunity to spend time with Coach Matthews at the time and Jeff Durden, and go around campus after camp. And, they said, we want to bring you back for a game in the fall on an unofficial. And then that led to coming to, I believe it was the William & Mary game we won in overtime in 2012. And then came on my official visit after the season. And it was just one of those things that I couldn't pass up, and I was super excited to be a part of. But, just Coach Durden reaching out to me when I was in high school and coming to a camp, and it fell in love from there. You
graduated in 2016 and still had some eligibility to play. So you went back to West Virginia, to Charleston.
Yes, sir.
Talk about your playing time there.
It was a good opportunity for me. I ended my career on a partial scholarship at JMU, so I was really thankful for that, for obviously Coach Matthews bringing me there and Coach Withers kind of bumping me up progressively. But when I had the opportunity to graduate early, one thing I told myself was I wasn't going to make my mom pay for any grad school. So when I graduated early, still on partial scholarship, it was actually Coach Withers at the time, before Coach Houston even arrived on campus. I just had a conversation with him, and he gave me his blessing, because he said, you only get one chance to play out your eligibility. So I didn't know if I was going to transfer down to a Division II school and go that route, or just forgo my last 2 years and go be a graduate assistant somewhere. So, I had some long conversations with mentors I trust, and Coach Withers and my position coach, Parker Fleming, at the time. And it just led me to kind of make the decision that I only had a couple years left to play anyway. Coaching at whatever level will be there when I got done. So, I made that decision. I went to the University of Charleston, West Virginia, had some good opportunities to play, and got my master's in a year and a half. So I was really thankful for that. And then when my playing days were up there, it just kind of one door led to the next.
Tell us how you connected those doors to go from a JMU grad in 2016 to being on the Pittsburgh Steelers staff and standing on the field at Bridgeforth Stadium as a scout for the Steelers watching Pro Day a couple of years ago.
Well, when I graduated from JMU, the Hart School, the Sport and Recreation Management program, I had to do an internship. So having the previous relationship through my dad that I had with Coach Tomlin, I reached out to him and just said, hey, I got a 10-week internship I need to do. Is there anything I can do in Pittsburgh, like whatever that may be? So he said, of course, just come, we'll figure it out. So I came up to Pittsburgh in the summer of 16 when I was getting ready to make the transition to Charleston, but I needed that internship. So that internship kind of opened the door. And then they always just said, hey, when you're done playing, whenever that is, just reach out and we'll see what's available. And then that led to an open position on offense as a coaching assistant, just kind of get my foot in the door and help out all the position coaches and whoever I needed to in the building. And it went from there. And one of the first things I did, you're right, was go to JMU Pro Day that spring of 18. And that was great because a lot of those guys getting ready for the draft were my college teammates, like Aaron Stinney, Raven Green. I believe Brian Shore was coming out. So that was really special to go back and be a part of that, just from a complete different perspective. But with those guys that I love and will cherish our relationships on that field in a different way.
Tell us about your position now with the Steelers, and what's a day-to-day like for you? What are your hours? When do you get up? When do you get home?
Right now, I'm the assistant wide receiver coach with the Steelers. So helping out with the receiver room, our offensive coordinator, and still helping out on special teams a little bit. But, it's a lot of behind-the-scenes work, whether it be film breakdown or scouting reports or game plan installations, things like that. There's some early mornings, some days earlier than others, but it's long hours, but everyone does it if you're in this profession. So, it's been a blessing, and I'm really just fortunate to be where I am and just trying to make the most of this opportunity and grow and learn and just take it, 1 week at a time and follow the lead of these great coaches.
I can imagine if you're like me, because I have some early wake-ups to do things in the radio station and the radio group that I work for. I never dread the alarm going off because I know what I'm getting to do is what I've always wanted to do.
Absolutely.
I can imagine you're probably in the same boat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just one of those things, no matter how long the days get or how late the night was before, when you wake up every day and get to be a part of, this organization with this staff and these players, it truly keeps it in perspective of how fortunate I am and how I just want to maximize each day. And exactly right, when that alarm goes off, might be a little tired some days, but you gotta keep pushing, and it's a blessing once you walk through these doors.
Take the steps to the shower, to the coffee pot, and then you're on your way.
No doubt. Exactly right.
Now, from time to time in your position, you're going to have either players or other coaches that have JMU ties. Do you always try to make time and at least have a conversation with those guys when either you go to their place or they come to yours?
Absolutely. There's nothing better than seeing a JMU guy during pregame or catching up with them postgame on the field. But people would be surprised how expansive JMU Nation is, especially, in regards to football. Guys like John DeFilippo, who's with the Bears now. I see him every year at the Combine. We try to get a cup of coffee and, just talk about James Madison and a lot of players. We played Daniel Brown last year. We're going to play Dean Marlowe again this December. So just looking forward to that. Played Jimmy Moreland later in the year, Ben DiNucci. So it's always a blessing to just cross paths with those guys and obviously follow their careers very closely.
How would you describe what your time at JMU, how that put you in position to be where you are doing what you're doing now?
That's tough to put it in one word, but it's kind of cliche, but JMU made me who I am today. As an 18-year-old kid leaving home for the first time, and then 3 years later, when I walked off campus as a student for the last time, it matured me into the person I am today, and the experiences shaped me just into obviously who I want to be in the future, surrounding myself with the people at James Madison. And, I truly think the relationships that were built there are things that will last forever. And those are kind of what stick out to me as whether it be my teammates, coaches, and just people in the community, whether it's, Miss Kathy in the cafeteria or our trainers or professors. Those are the things that it makes JMU so special. It's the personal relationships, and those I wouldn't be where I am or who I am without them. So I'm thankful for JMU every day.
Especially this time of year, you're so busy. Your schedule is so jam-packed. But how often are you able to catch up and keep up with your former teammates?
Oh, a good bit. Everyone's kind of busy doing their own things, whatever that may be. But, I got some group chats that I'm a part of that we keep up. And my roommate from JMU, Dan Sheely, is still on staff at JMU as an analyst. So, it's great to be a part, hear what's going on still with the program and things of that nature. Dan and I talk all the time. I got buddies that are doing all types of things right now, but we always try to keep in touch and then get together once or twice a year, whether that's at the spring game or a trip in the summer. So we look forward to that whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Last question for you, Blaine, because we know you've been generous with your time. We are re-airing this week the Albany 2014 game where we flew to Albany. I was filling in for Mike Schickman, and the game was tight. It was cold. It was wet, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
and
sir.
it came down to a Ryan Maglio kick. But the play before the kick, where it was on third down, and Coach Withers decided to try to kick the field goal on third down just to be on the safe side. Walk us through that play and what you remember about that.
I remember it was tied, and more importantly, I remember we needed to win really bad that week. We had come off, I believe, back-to-back tough conference losses in Coach Withers' first year. And, not that we were ever teetering, but it was one of those make-or-break games when we went to Albany. I just remember on the sideline, I was like, dang, it is kind of cold and wet right now. But Coach Withers made the great decision to kick on third down just because of the possibility for – a bobbled snap, which was I put 100% on myself. But him giving me the opportunity to kick it on third down allowed us to spike the ball, throw it at the tight end, who is an eligible receiver, and not lose any yards, and then come back again on fourth down, kind of dry those hands off a little bit, put them in the hand warmer for a second, and then Maglio drilled the kick. That was a great team win first and foremost, but it's a fun story because people are like, dang, you had to spike it before the game when he kicked. And I was like, yeah, it just, if I'd have caught it the first time, we wouldn't even be having this conversation probably. But
you didn't panic though. You didn't panic. Correct. And you reacted immediately doing the right thing. And that's the one thing that Coach Withers talked about following that. He said, I know this kid. I trust this kid. He's got the mind of a coach, and you knew the game. You
Yes,
responded immediately. So I think you need to give yourself a little more credit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a good memory for sure, and I appreciate Coach Withers and you saying that. But yeah, we were fortunate to walk out of there with a win, and then we rattled off a couple more in a row and made the playoffs that year. So that was a fun kind of turning point in the season, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, we're just thrilled for you. We're watching your career. We're cheering for you and for the Steelers because you are a part of JMU Nation. You're always going to be a part of this family. And we're just delighted that you got the opportunities. We know there's going to be many, many more come your way. Best of luck to your team moving forward. Best of luck to you and your chosen profession. Thank you for taking time, Blaine.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. Go Duke.